Welcome back for Genesis chapter 35. Okay, so yesterday in chapter 34, we learned about Jacob's son murdering Hamor and Shechem for what Shechem did to their sister Dinah. Jacob was very upset learning about all of this, and that's where we pick up today. So, verse 1. Then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and live there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Bethel was, again, where Jacob had the dream with the ladder reaching to heaven, and God confirmed the Abrahamic covenant there. Verse 2. So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods which are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments, and let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me wherever I have gone." So they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods which they had, and the rings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was near Shechem. Verse 5. As they journeyed, there was a great terror upon the cities which were around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. Word obviously had spread of what they did, and people were afraid. Verse 6. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. He built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God had revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. And what's crazy is that if it had not been for Jacob's grandfather and ultimately God's plan, his life could have gone a completely different direction without the protection of God. Verse 8. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the oak. It was named Allon Bakuth, which means oak of weeping. Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Paddan Aram, and he blessed him. Verse 10. God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." Thus he called him Israel. God also said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come forth from you. The land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give it to you, and I will give the land to your descendants after you." So despite the struggles of Jacob's past and the actions of his sons, we see that he was growing wiser and more intimate with God and would build altars to worship him. Jacob reconfirmed his allegiance to God, who also affirmed his commitment to Jacob by reappearing to him, repeating the change of name, and rehearsing the Abrahamic promises. In response, Jacob also repeated the rite he had performed when he first met God at Bethel, and reaffirmed its name. Verse 13. Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him. Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone. And he poured out a drink offering on it. He also poured oil on it. Verse 15. So Jacob named the place where God had spoken with him Bethel, meaning house of God, and this was a reaffirmation since his first encounter there. It was a sacred place that prompted his remembrance and worship. Verse 16. Then they journeyed from Bethel, and when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, which was an ancient name for Bethlehem, located just south of Jerusalem, Rachel began to give birth, and she suffered severe labor. When she was in severe labor, the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, for now you have another son." It came about as her soul was departing, for she died, that she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. Ben-Oni or Oni means son of my sorrow, while Benjamin means son of my right hand. And obviously this birth was a very emotional event for Jacob, and he would have a unique relationship with this child. Verse 19. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a pillar over her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. Verse 21. Then Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder, which was likely a watchtower for shepherds. Verse 22. It came about while Israel was dwelling in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. Reuben was Israel's firstborn son with Leah, and Bilhah was Rachel's maid mentioned back in chapters 29 and 30. Bilhah and Jacob gave birth to Dan because Rachel couldn't get pregnant, so this was very twisted. Now there were 12 sons of Jacob. Verse 23, the sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, then Simeon and Levi in Judah, and Issachar and Zebulun, the sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin, and the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Naphtali, and the sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Paddan Aram. Verse 27, Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre of Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. Isaac breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people, an old man of ripe age, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So somewhat of a tragic chapter here, but we know the hope is in the eternal kingdom, and God continues to move and build his nation through Israel. So please join me tomorrow to see where this journey is going. God bless. Take care.